I'm Joe Kane.
I'm Dan Kane.
I'm Sal Conca.
And I'm Wayne Heckler.
And this is the Imperfect Podcast.
Don't forget to go to hecklerkane.com and sign up to become an Imperfect Podcast Insider.
To the bumper.
Today we're here with actress and comedian Jill-Michele Melean, who comes to us by way of Hollywood. She's known for her roles in Fox's MadTV and Comedy Central's Reno 911. She just completed a personal project with our friend Alex Ferrari, known as This Is Meg.
Yeah, we just, Alex kind of turned her to us, and we picked her up for the podcast.
Yeah, she had tons of information to offer as an actress and as a female comedian, life on the road, moving from Miami to L.A.
Advice to how to live as an actress.
Yep, and she was very funny.
Comedian.
Yeah.
Yep. The big thing is, she's got her new 1-hour stand-up special coming, which is real personal to her. I think it was really interesting to hear her talk about the transition from doing This Is Meg into the 1-hour special and how she's actually combining that personal aspect for her audience. So, stay tuned and hear what Jill has to say. Jill, welcome to the Imperfect Podcast. Thank you for joining us today. How are you doing out in sunny California?
I am good, and it is sunny and beautiful here, I tell you.
We're so jealous.
Yeah, we're freezing our butts
Back
off.
in New York, right?
Yeah, on the East Coast.
Yeah, our weather takes Prozac and Xanax. They're really sweet out here.
Very good. So we know you're no stranger to the warm weather. I believe you grew up in Miami. Is that right?
Yes, born and raised in Miami, which is now it's a little bit even more mixed with like the Brazilians coming in and everything, but it was predominantly Cuban when I grew up there, and I always have to say to people when they go, "Oh, you're from Florida," I go, "No, Miami. It's
It's its own.
It's its own thing.
Well, I was a hurricane. I always got to throw that in there.
Like, I have to tell you this: that last hurricane that we had, that Hurricane Irma. I was supposed to get a beach house that we were selling. It went into the ocean.
Oh, my God.
So I'm like, I go, thanks, Irma. Wait, if I ever meet an Irma, I'm going to punch her in the face.
Ouch. Well, the Miami Hurricanes went to the bowl game this year, I heard, so...
Yeah, the Hurricanes, meaning the football team. Yes. Yeah. Actually, growing up, I was a season pass holder, and the whole family, every time there was a home game, we were there. Go Canes,
Oh, yeah.
It was a blast growing up in with the Hurricanes. I loved it. That was like one of my favorite memories growing up over there. So, yeah.
It was completely foreign to me. Football is so huge down there. Like in New York, we don't have that. Nobody goes...
We don't physically have a football team in New York anymore.
No, we have like professional teams. We don't do
New York
college
is
and high school thing.
Yeah, we got baseball out here. And when I went down there, it was like Miami Hurricanes. People are like just parking on people's front lawns. You just like lease your lawn for parking space. It was totally shit show.
Yeah.
Hey, so speaking of...
to bring back memories, Sal. Yes. Like, I remember everyone would people would they all of a sudden they turn their front lawn into a parking lot in the pits. You charge you $20 to park there. People make money. I was like, yes.
Hell yeah.
So what led you into the acting field then, growing up in Florida, Miami, I should say?
Yeah. Well, I think what led me into the acting world was it was kind of a thing where I fell in love with TV and film. It was my escape, as a kid, and I didn't know how to get there, because I was very suppressed, in a very Latin type of upbringing, and it's very, more of like you get married, you have kids, that type of thing. So it was, but it didn't ever appeal to me. What appealed to me was, when I looked at the screen, I was like, I want to do that, So there was at a very young age, because I had a grandma that was very strict, and I was considered the bad seed because I was a crazy kid. And when I realized that I made her laugh, when I could make her laugh, and I started dry humping her leg, that's how I started. At 3 years old, I started dry humping my grandma's leg, and she would laugh and leave me alone. And I realized the power of laughter, and when you make someone laugh, how they separate you from anything else, and they just let it go. So I found that at a young age, and I always knew that comedy was going to be my source of power, and that's what happened. And I came out here into Los Angeles, and I didn't know anybody, and I believed in my crazy self, and would cry myself to sleep at night, and it paid off though. It did. It did. Yeah. So a
And
lot of hard.
when did you make that transition? What was there a particular moment that made you go out to move to LA, or what part of your life, were you a teenager? Were you older? Did you go to college?
Yeah, my parents were really strict. So their whole thing was college. They wanted me to go to college. And even though I knew at such a young age this is what I wanted to do, they didn't have the tools to teach me or show me or to guide me to come here. So I kind of had to figure it out myself. And their prerequisite was, you need a college degree. Like, that was just their thing. That's how they were brought up, So I did. And through the college, I call it a very expensive party. That's what I call it.
I think that is for most people.
Go Canes. I mean,
Okay, right? But through that, I realized what I wanted even more, because I thought I wanted theater. And then when I was in the theater program, through that, I realized film was more of where I really flourished in, because I like creating a family for a few months or a year, and then you go bye-bye. I love that feeling of nothing's ever the same. Whereas theater, you're doing 8 shows a week or more, and it's the same thing over and over. Kind of like stand-up, but stand-up, I have the ability to have my mic and then change things if I want to.
Right.
Whereas a play, you can't do that. I can't all of a sudden, I'm not going to play that character tonight. I'm going to be,
Well, you could do it. It just, you wouldn't last in the part for very long. That may be your final performance.
But it was one to be remembered.
Yes.
I'm an improviser. That's right.
wait, this isn't Second City?
Right.
Shit.
Oh, man. Yeah, if I had to do it again, my advice to people that want to do comedy and know they want to do comedy is, now Second City Chicago is like a university. And I say, just go there. Just go there, because they pluck everybody out from Second City. And when I was younger, it wasn't what it is today. But now it is. It's like full on university level.
Yep. Yep.
Now you're pretty good at sketch comedy. Speaking of Second City, we saw some of your work on MadTV. Tell us about that experience. How was it working with?
How do you get to MadTV?
Let's go back. How do you actually get the role on MadTV?
Well, that was interesting, because they followed me for like a year and a half. They would come out to my stand-up shows, and and when I first started stand-up, I had come from a sketch background, because in Miami I toured with a sketch group, and so that's what I knew. So when I came out to Los Angeles, I wanted to audition for a sketch group, and no, you have to enroll in the Groundlings or, Improv Olympic or Second City. So I did. I enrolled in all that. I was like, I'm going to college again. What the heck? Like, this is crazy. So, but the networking is so good there. But I needed my fix to be on stage. So I took my character work and I started putting it up with stand-up. So I did a lot of characters when I first started stand-up. And MadTV, they heard about me. And they started coming. It was a different world back then, too. We got to think this is how many years ago, 15 years ago, where today, people really don't go out to scout anymore. Everything's online, and it's the market is so saturated now. But at that time, female comics weren't a really huge thing. It was much like a Roseanne or a very character-y type of female comic. So someone like me, they're like, who are you? Why are you like the girl next door doing comedy? Like, it wasn't now it's very common, but so they came out, and for a year and a half they followed me, and the timing was right. And every time I would go back and audition for them, oh my gosh, it was like doing a one-person show, because you have to do all your characters, all your impersonations. I mean, I was exhausted. You'd be in there for an hour, you're like, oh my God. So I went back several times. The last time, I think I went back like 6 times and had to do this each time. And then finally they went, you know what? We're going to give her an on-air test, because she's been back so much. And I came in and I did Britney and Drew Barrymore. And then they made me a main cast member immediately. So that's really cool.
That's awesome. The Drew Barrymore one was my favorite, but I think the Britney Spears one is probably the most popular, right? I mean, that video on YouTube has like been 4 million views.
I was dying laughing seeing that. Like,
and can you imagine, you guys, that was my first sketch that I filmed there, and I had to like get down to a little tiny, like nothing. Like, it was like this this sheer top and these little tiny nude bathing suits. And I'm like, this is my first sketch there. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I was like getting naked for people. I'm like, really? This is welcome to Hollywood.
Welcome to Hollywood. My mom and dad are going to be so proud.
But it did make it popular, you know. You're also a very good-looking woman, and I mean that in a respectful way, especially after all the Weinstein things going on these days.
I gained a large fan base there.
Yeah. Oh my God, the craziness ensues. So after Mad TV, I think you started writing some of your own stuff, or did you go back on the road and do some more stand up after Mad TV?
Well, after Mad TV, I got a tour when I was on Mad TV. I got a stand-up tour, and that's where I really developed my time. I was with the Latinos Locos tour with Carlos, Oscar, Darren Carter, Ralphie May. There was a bunch of them that rotated through. But anyways, great comics, and I hosted, so I was able to really learn from them and develop my time on the road. And from there, I got Reno 911, which I met Carlos Alazraqui, which I played his sister on the show. And me and him are like brother and sister on camera and off camera. And we've done multiple projects together. And we just finished writing another script together that we're going to be shooting. And he's in This Is Meg also. Yep. He plays spiritual guru. So I did Reno, and I reoccurred on Reno and was on the road for a long time developing my stand-up. And I was on the road I went from one tour to another tour to another tour. I got very lucky in that sense to build my time, and was on the road for like 7 years of doing like hardcore theaters though, which I'm so grateful for that I got that theater experience. Yes. But I'll tell you, I'm spoiled now because, club calls you to do a set. You're like, oh man, you're like, the theaters, everyone gets dressed up to go to a theater, they're ready, it's
an event as opposed to somebody going to have a good time and get a drink.
They're two free drinks that they have.
So in Reno 9/11, you worked with George Lopez also, right?
Yes.
There was a scene. That was a funny scene also.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody call it 9/11.
I know, yeah. This guy.
Reno
911.
911.
That's a different show.
I will say that
Sorry, guys.
my agent calls it Reno 9/11 till this day.
Does he? That's funny.
Reno 9/11. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
That's funny.
But, yeah, George, that was really fun. He had it was really cool when they made that huge tattoo and they put it on his back of me. I thought that was the funniest thing ever.
Was great.
I was like, forever I will be a tattoo on George Lopez's back. So.
Can't take that away from you. No.
That should be on my resume.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Nice.
In terms of everything that you did out there with stand-up and getting Mad TV, Reno 911, was there a moment, though, where you were just auditioning and things weren't clicking or the stand-up wasn't going the way you wanted? I mean, was there like a moment that you were like, oh, shit, maybe I didn't make the right choice?
He's asking for your low point in your life.
Yeah.
That's every day. Yeah. I just hung up with, me and Carlos Alazraqui, we were FaceTiming because we were going over some notes for a pitch meeting. And, we forget how grateful we need to be because we're in a different position, but it's still that same hunger, for the next thing. We're never satisfied. And we were both sitting there and we started off with complaining. And then I went, wait a second, remember, we've got to stop and go, we are so grateful that we can pay our rent, do what we love, and continue to make great projects. And the game has changed. And you know what? But it's going to change again, and it's going to change again. And either you play and you're in the game or you get out. So that's what it is. It's like you're never satisfied in this business. There's nothing ever you're like, I'm done and I'm set, because my first series, when I booked Mad TV, I really, in my gut, because I had no idea, thought, okay, I'm done. I'll go from one series to another series to another series. I'm in now. Mm-hmm. No, it's like you're in, and then you don't work for like 5 years of like that you book here, you book here, you book here, but you have to constantly be creating and making new projects because you can't rely on just auditions or a series, because I've done multiple pilots that haven't gotten picked up. Sure. I was with all the producers of Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I was like, we're going to series. This is going to be amazing. I'm looking at which house I want to buy. I'm like, yeah, we're doing it. And it didn't happen. You're like, what? So you never know. It's the craziest industry to get into, but it's the most rewarding too, because the big chunks that come in are like a chunk that it would take a person, 3 years to make that amount of money, and you can make that in 1 month. But it's just being smart, and
you have to make that 3 years worth of money last for 5.
Yeah.
You know what though? It must be nice being at your level at this point. At least you get the meetings. Yeah. There's people out that have great ideas, doing a lot of things, but once you land the meetings, like, okay, she's been around, so and you constantly have to strive for that and keep creating, like you said.
Yes, you have to keep creating, and even more so now, because even though there's so many more outlets, it's actually made it harder because there's nowhere to centralize the marketing. You can't say, hey, Jill-Michele Melean's coming to Milwaukee next week, and we put it on the radio, and then it's sold out in 2 minutes. Well, no one listens to the radio anymore,
Right.
So look, they're listening to podcasts, they're listening to things like that. So it's a very strange world right now that we're in, and it's going to be another shift, I really believe. And I had a big meeting last night, a big business dinner, and I'll share this with you guys, and I'm sure your listeners will love this. And they were saying, you know what? Comedy is the only thing that has longevity, because comics have a voice, and you guys have a really strong, clear voice. And these other actors and YouTube people or whatever, it's just all over. But it always comes back down to the comedians, because you guys have got it together, and it's this world that you have that surrounds you, and that's where TV shows are created. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you.
A little reassurance.
Like,
yeah. Got the pat on your back.
Exactly. And I mean, I think it speaks to the diversity and talent as well, right? I mean, you being able to not only act, but go on the road and be a stand-up comedian. So having multiple income streams and things like that to be able to support yourself, I mean, I would assume that that's just super important. I mean, is there something that other female comics in the industry, like advice that you would give to them about going on the road and how they'd handle their careers?
Yeah, my advice is to do exactly what happened to me, is to link up with a comic that is a bigger name, that's a male, so it doesn't become a female show. Because a lot of bookers will like to market the hot, sexy female show, and you're like, what are you talking about? We're not stripping. Like,
right,
stop.
Yeah.
So link up with a bigger male comic and open up for them for a while and gain that fan base and that time. And then the transition is easier to go into headlining, because now these bookers know you and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I did. Fortunately, unfortunately, I didn't get the contacts that were necessary on those, because I just thought it would last forever. So I would say make sure you connect to those bookers, each club that you're at or each venue that you're at. You hold on to those cards, you create a database, and then you reach back out to them when you're at headlining status. So then you can direct book, because even the PA agents will not fight for you. You've got to do it yourself.
That's great advice. I hope people are taking notes. I hope people are going to take notes on this as they're hearing it. So
can you pass me that pencil?
This is their college. Speaking of that, yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's kind of the whole point of her coming on here. So
yeah, right.
So tell us, what are you working on? There's a couple new things down the pike now, I hear. What are you up to now?
So we have This Is Meg is on Hulu streaming now, which is really exciting. And that little film was wonderful because we made it as I'm sure Alex discussed it with you, it was a very passion piece. It was full of a lot of heart. So it was very indie, very stripped, very raw, very vulnerable, and based on true events. But I wanted people to see what it is really like to live in LA, what it really is like as an actor in Los Angeles, and the relationships, not focusing so much on the business, but the relationships that you experience out here in this wacky little land. So that was really fun to make and very cathartic at the same time, and to involve all my friends, from MadTV and Reno 911 and from other projects to come in and play. So there was no drama on the set, which is amazing.
Well, Alex, I want to know what it's like to work with Alex, because we only know him through the podcast and we've met him socially. We've never yet to work with him. Maybe we will one day. But what was it like working with Alex? Hi, Alex. I'd be curious to hear, what was it like working with him as a director? And I mean, you guys are really partners on the film, though. So and I know you guys are so close as friends, too. So
yeah, we have a very special dynamic. It's very unique because I think it's because going into it is my story, and also these were my friends. So normally directors will not let a producer step in as much as I did. And he was very kind to do that, because he also knew that those actors showed up that usually get paid a lot of money for, cappuccino money because they're my friends. Mm-hmm. So he allowed me to talk with them, and we would discuss notes prior and work together. But what is wonderful about him as a director is that he puts his ego aside, and he wants to capture what is necessary. And that's so important, because as an actor and as a producer, I've worked with directors that it's their vision and that's it. And, and then you get to the editing and you're like, this sucks. They're the comedy timing's not there. Right. We didn't get the footage that was needed because they were stubborn. So he's not stubborn. We both know how to deal with each other. We both know that if we say something and it's direct and it's maybe sounds rude, it's not rude. It's coming from a place of love. We're trying to make a great thing. It's not like, God, what's wrong with her? Right. What's wrong? Mm-hmm. So that's the beautiful thing about the dynamic that we have together. I don't know how he would be on a different set. I don't know.
I can't vouch for him for his whole career. Just this one film.
I won't let everybody know that he's going to work with you that way. So I'm going to shut up and sit down.
Well, so I guess the key is, if you want to work with Alex, also hire Jill, and then
it'll be okay.
Then you'll be
have
okay.
a good balance, right?
Exactly.
See, we're getting you more work already. This is working.
Jill, you have a 1 hour comedy special coming out. You want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it was piggybacking off of This Is Meg. What happened was, it was such a unique experience because in film, you deal with putting out so many fires, and this film, we would look at each other and go, "Are we making a movie?" Because it was just so, I don't want to say easy because that's the wrong term, but it was no drama. So, and usually on a film set, there's so much drama. And
right.
So the little fires that we had to put out were so easy. And after we were wrapping up, I was having like separation anxiety. Like, oh my God,
Right.
like it's going to be over. So I just looked at him and said, there's been so many people have come to me about doing my 1 hour special. And it's my first 1 hour. I've had other specials on Hulu and Showtime, and it's like, but this was my first 1 hour, and the monies that they were coming in with were stupid. Like, it was like, really, I'm going to sign over that money to you for my first 1 hour? Like, I don't know. So it was I was in a weird place already about it. And then after we made This Is Meg, I said, I want you to make my 1 hour special. Wow. Together. Let's do it together. We're in this momentum, this groove of being raw and being real. And I talked to the improv, because that's like where I started, the Hollywood Improv. And they're like my family, and they opened up their space. I said, I want to make it in a small setting like Louis C.K. did and Sarah Silverman did on her last special, where it's very intimate. And that's what This Is Meg was. So I want to translate it over to my stand-up special. And we were like, let's do it. And that's why we ended up doing it at the Improv. And it's beautiful. It's shot beautifully. It does give you that feeling that you're in the club with me.
Nice.
And we're on the final week of mastering right now, and then I'll be able to let everyone know where to find it. So that's good.
It's exciting.
Really
Also,
it's
congratulations.
excellent. I'm looking forward to it.
I think what's really cool about that, just listening to you talk about it, is how smart and direct you are with your plan and creativity around it. I mean, it's really interesting to hear the way you talk about it, and it's very everything was done very specifically, which is great. So I'm sure that's going to come across on camera. I'm super excited to see the special when it comes out.
I'm really excited to share it with you guys because it really is about the material. Like when you watch certain other comics, I really study. I don't like to show the audience. That was a choice of mine because it is about the material, and that's it. That's all it is. And it's not about a cut to of, it's not about the frame shot. It's not about whatever. So, and that's what I wanted to present. Now, maybe my next special, we have crazy like drones coming in.
Back into the big theater.
And different. We have dancers, who knows? So.
Will you be doing any Drew Barrymore impressions in the special?
Of course, you know it. Of course.
That's so great.
By the way, I love Mugwai right there. I love
the little guy.
We have little things trinketed all around the set for people who pick up on them.
It's my favorite, and I just watched it again the other day. I was like, man, it's still such a great movie. It's so good. Gremlins, I love it. My favorite.
I know, it's still on Netflix, so it's like, you can watch it all the time.
Certain movies pass the test of time, definitely. Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Because
there's some that you go back that you're like, I loved as a kid, and you watch it like, what? Like
that's true, too. Right. I saw Kiss the Phantom when I was young. I was like, wow, it's magical. Then I sit down, I'm like, are you serious? Like, it's not, there's nothing to it. Right. So, no offense, guys. But whoa.
Oh my God. I know you mentioned a couple of comedians already, but I'm curious to hear, like, are there any comedians in particular that inspired you, female or otherwise, like that you look to for inspiration?
Well, it's interesting because when I think back to what my inspiration was, it wasn't very many stand-up comics. It was more Carol Burnett, Tracy Ullman, watching the Golden Girls, their timing. I do love Ellen. Like, her old stand-up is just wonderful. Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy's old work, George Carlin, and then currently, it's Louis C.K. I know he's in the media but I
How well do you know Louis?
I've met Louis a couple of times, and I did a show with him once, and all I can say is he was the kindest man to me and the funniest man. And I was shocked. I was shocked because I don't see that. But I do know one thing. I do know the groupies that are in the stand-up world and the audience members that do go backstage and that do hang out. And I just wish that they could consider the source for each case, because these women are disgusting. And I've seen the men that are gross that come to me afterwards too. And, it's unfortunate that happened. I just, some of, and again, I wasn't there, so I don't know the whole story, and I don't want to ever think these, downplay on these women.
Sure.
But all I know from Louis is that he's a very good guy. So this is such a shocking news, I think, to a lot of comics.
Yeah, that one bothered me specifically too. It was just, I don't know, because Louis is such an everyman, and I followed his career, so closely, and it's just like, shit, not him too. He was like, I was just like, how much? And every day it's something else in the news. But anyways,
this whole scandal thing is killing all of us, because everybody would turn around going, oh, this one too, and this
but
one,
let me say this: the thing when I hear it, no, I don't have enough information. I can't make them guilty when I don't know really what happened. So I know, like, these days, it's like, what are you defending men? You have no idea what they did. But in some cases, it just might not be true either. I don't know.
It's rough.
I'm not listening to all the details. Are any of us on the jury? You know what I mean? So, but
and especially comedy is such a place where you offend everyone. So it's like, where's the lines drawn? Yeah, because even when we're on TV shows and we have to do the sexual harassment thing where we're all sitting there, all the cast members, and we're cracking up because we've broken all those rules already. Like it's the weirdest. It's so backwards.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I feel like I need to walk around with tape on my mouth for a while because I'm like, I might say something to offend somebody.
I
Like,
Well, the whole idea of comedy is to offend somebody.
exactly.
And then you can't offend somebody.
I think you cross the line when you get physical. If you're not touching, if you're just joking, you're saying, especially if you're a comedian, you know,
Right.
you're supposed to say those things. That's why it's funny. Like, because you're not supposed to talk about those things, and you are, and it's funny.
Yeah.
Right. But once it gets physical, if anyone's like a physical attack, a rape, of course we all feel for that. That's different.
Yeah.
But sexual
agree.
harassment that you didn't like how somebody was speaking, people joke all the time, especially this day and age. You know, once it gets physical, that's when it turned real. Before that, you know,
I know. It's
Yeah.
tough.
Different.
It's tough. We're living in an interesting climate out, and we're not living that. I mean, we have our podcast here.
I don't
and
know.
we're not-
Sal's touching me the whole night under the table. Tell you the truth, I'm feeling uncomfortable.
Says you liked it and you're sober. So
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. That's right,
I
Wayne.
can't argue. All right.
Oh my God. Well, Jill, this has been so much fun. We had a good laugh here, obviously, and I wish you a lot of success in the future. Thanks to Alex for hooking us up, and you know, we want to see your special. You want to tell everybody where they can go find you online or connect with you in any way?
yeah, connect with me. I'm all over social media. It's at Jilly Online, Jilly Online, and that's my website too. Is Jilly Online. And if you keep in touch with me, I'll let you guys know where to find White Latina, my 1 hour special.
All right.
So yeah, we should have some news pretty soon coming in this beginning of the new year, and I'm excited to share it with everybody.
I'm looking forward to seeing
Me
that.
too.
Yeah, we're
Definitely.
gonna watch it. We'll share it on, just send us the links too. We'll share it on our Facebook page and on your post and everywhere. So
We may
right,
sit in the
thank you,
podcast room here and just shotgun it too. So that'll be fun.
yeah.
Nice. So good luck in the future. You're great. Keep it up.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
I've said it like 6 times. Even when I say like my 4 words in an
You
interview,
don't hear
never
I,
hear
I
it.
can't hear myself.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Well, this
gotta-
is to
We sound check every time.
lower. lower-
Sound check. Oh, hey, I
We
can't hear
sound
you.
check every
We did a sound check, and I said I can't hear myself, and you're like, you're good.